Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is in the world you're coming to us from. My name's Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting what, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, another episode of DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. It's August 19th, 2024. Got a lot to talk about today. We've been gone off the air for a few days, but it's not like we weren't trying or anything, because last week my co-host Pedro Garcia and I were at Futurist convention. Pedro, what's happening? Right, we even shared an Airbnb. You know, it's proof that Pedro is not an AI, ladies and gentlemen. He is not. He's an actual person. Because Pedro and I saw each other both getting in and out of the shower, so we know we're real. The man can do push-ups, let me tell you. Right? Just endless push-ups. But anyway, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Pedro, I'm doing well. I had a busy, like you, I drove home after the show and from Toronto to Chicago the next day on Thursday, and it was a long day, and I drove pretty much the whole way. I think Mrs. Striking drove about an hour, and so I was wiped out. Thursday night I got here, my body had shut down, muscles had shut down, everything was finished. You know, I was like, oh, I think I'll have an old-fashioned or something like that. And my body said, no, there's no... The rare time, there's no need for booze, you Irishmen. Just sleep. and so needless to say, it took me Thursday and really even Friday too, but got to see my son before he went off to university for his senior year. Helped him load up his car and get him all ready for that. And then my daughter, hung out with her a little bit. But the most interesting part with my daughter right now is her best friend, whose house she hangs out with, is in the secure zone here in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. And so you can't get to her house anymore. She wanted to go visit, and it was still not the secure zone, but the fences were up, so I was able to drop her off. And then when I went to pick her up, the secure zone was in place, in like the cops were everywhere and the dudes with rifles and all that type of stuff, and couldn't go. She had to walk out. No cars in. Yep. And in fact, on Friday night, on Saturday night, Mrs. Striking and I were downtown with some of our friends from Ottawa that were in for Chicago for a fun weekend, and they were staying at a hotel downtown, which is being used, I believe, by Vice President Harris. And so they were putting the fences up around it, and the metal detectors up, and the cops were all over the place and that type of stuff. And so they had set that all up. So Mrs. Striking and I actually got the opportunity to walk through the secure zone downtown inside the fences. It was like walking on a NASCAR track or a Formula One track in the city, because all those big high fences up so people can't climb them. And we're like, wow, this is interesting. Chicago was the safest place in the world that night. In fact, it will be the next few days, unless these protesters get out of hand. But everywhere we walk, every street corner had 3 cops on it, cop cars everywhere, paddy wagons full of cops in riot gear, all this type of stuff. And we just walked down the street, no problems. Didn't have to keep my head on a swivel for carjackers and stuff like that. It was awesome. It was great. And yeah. Yeah. And so it's great. So Chicago's going to be an interesting place these next few days. I'm probably going to get on the old motorcycle and go down. Yeah. And go downtown and do a little videoing and filming from down the Democratic National Convention, and maybe do some shorts or something like that. because it's gonna be an interesting time. I've been watching Twitter about it, and the amount of false information on Twitter is unbelievable. I mean, if there's 1,000 posts a minute about the convention, I'd say 80% of them are fake. Troll accounts, bot accounts, fake news accounts, and that type of stuff. It's really unbelievable. I mean, Twitter's afire with like protests. Chicago's on fire. There are pallets of bricks being laid everywhere for people to just start throwing at cops and all this type of stuff. And none of it's true. I mean, there's not even any protests going on. The city's nice this morning. People are like, oh, that's on fire. They hate the Democrats and this kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. This city loves Democrats. Because it's been so corrupt for so long. The party's had a stranglehold on this. But it's been really interesting. So hopefully I'll get some time out to go hang out with the morons downtown and see what's going on with the DNC. It's just such the news here in Chicago. I mean, the whole city's, it's like Baghdad. I mean, it's like there's the central green zone in the middle thing where everything's secure and safe, and then everything around it is like, on fire. So there's a crime and that type of stuff. And they pulled all the police from our neighborhoods to go downtown and work that. So it's interesting, but so last week was very interesting, Pedro, and then this week is leading to another interesting week too. But have you recovered from last week? As everyone knows, we were broadcasting live last week. Crypto Mike in the house. Jesus says Chirac is on fire. Not yet. Well, in certain neighborhoods, it's always on fire no matter what, but you just don't go to those neighborhoods anyway. But so you recovered quite well?
Price charts on our friendly, and by the way, I don't understand why I can't pull up my BTC here. Reload site, come on, you can do it. There we are. For Bitcoin, and it's just so interesting because the dichotomy of now we're starting to see some legislation being pushed out, good stuff that's actually really favorable, kind of, right? Or at least not, I'm gonna call it favorable, but enough to where it's like, hey, stop bullying on these kids, right? Like, they're trying to make something happen, and Bitcoin's just kind of chilling there. So it's just something that I'm just kind of blown away with what we're seeing in the industry, and just moving around. It's I didn't expect it to move this quick. And it's funny, and I'm planning for Kamala to win, even though I want Trump to win because he is pro crypto. But just from a, what's the old saying, assume the worst, or plan for the worst, but pray for the best type of situation. Yep. So that's almost like what I'm doing, right? I'm just basically, if Kamala wins and everything happens, crypto, I think she's going to be very either neutral on crypto or negative on crypto. So hoping Trump wins.
I think the markets will sort that shit out pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But it's just really interesting to see what's been happening with Kamala getting ahead in the polls. And I know there's a lot of stuff saying, a lot of her rallies are fake and all this other stuff. But the reality is I want to pay attention to that because if she does, or if Trump wins, you just don't know what's going to happen overall. So that's why I've been really trying to pay attention to what we're seeing from a geopolitical standpoint. And then especially when it comes to just the idea of what's happening in the market here. I'm talking about TradFi. It's really interesting because I'm sitting there and I'm looking at certain things And I'm like, you know what? If this thing starts to sell off again, and we put a lower high and at this peak over here, let me pull this up here real quick. Oh, there we are.
I mean, this past few days, Bitcoin has been exceedingly boring.
Yeah, but if you look at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 has been just rallying. I mean, literally since I expected this to come down at least to the 200 period moving average. We couldn't even make it.
You got the S&P up?
Yeah, that's what this is right now. Yeah.
Okay.
And I expect to see this thing to somewhat, have sold off and touched that 50 period moving average. And the reality is, man, we couldn't even get back to that. We skyrocketed up. So it's just one of those things that I'm kind of shocked to see. Now, I should have realized it's at the beginning of the month. So I talk about this all the time. If at the beginning of the month we see it go down, then what we'll see is it to go up. But it's so much negative news is happening in the traditional markets. I sit there and I'm almost at a loss because we have a lot of negative connotations. So people are selling, but obviously the institutions are buying. So it's like, who is really in control here? As we're pushing up, you can see down here that our volume is definitely dead. You can see that it's selling off. It's going down. So when I look at the market overall, I mean, are they pushing it up towards the, to drop it here? So we'll put in a lower high to put in a new lower low where it would hit this 200 period. So it's really interesting to see what and how this actually plays out, because this is moving like gangbusters, and I would have thought that Bitcoin would have been moving more. So it's a unique way of what's actually happening in the market.
Well, I guess if the market's moving up, it's doing so for a reason.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. There's so news. I mean, the basic concept is that the U.S. is going to have to turn the money printer on here soon, and that's not a good thing for the markets.
No.
Ultimately, that causes inflation. I mean, initially people say, well, it's good because the overall liquidity in the market goes up. More banks are able to lend. More people are able to do things. It's great. But then it just starts cranking up inflation and all types of other things. That is just whatever the inflation rate is. If it's more than zero, it's a bad news cycle. And even if it's 2%, which is little, it's not a good thing in the media, and it's not a good thing, especially if it gets up over 5 or 7%. Then you start seeing your wealth go away.
Yeah.
And the more the government prints up the money, the more your wealth goes away. It's almost an exact equation. It's almost linear. Jesus is pumping the Infineon or Infineon. I don't know how to say that correctly. Blockchain. We're going to have to learn more about that. Operation Phoenix has pivoted. And I shouldn't say pivoted. I should say changed their roadmap to be forming a blockchain. And how that works out to, go along with the 40,000 other blockchains out there right now. We'll have to see and let them, hopefully maybe we can get them to come on this week or next to pitch it. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's gonna.
You're right, Jesus. They did say blockchain from the beginning because they wanted to redo what SafeMoon tried to do and all that. But I think they've left the old idea of SafeMoon proofs. They thought they were going to get that whole group of people, millions of people to come over, and they didn't. Those people got burned and lost all their money.
Well, and then they started calling them almost fake, right? And I was watching that going like, these guys are trying to help you out. Why are you sitting there and almost like shooting the very people that are trying to help you out, and and almost turning a bad situation into a fairly good one? So I just thought that was really interesting. Like, why wouldn't they sit there and say, hey, look, we're here to help? And you had so many of the core people within SafeMoon coming over to Project Phoenix. So that's why I sat there and was like, what is going on?
It was odd. Hold on, let me get some lo-fi going on the background here.
Absolutely. Lo-fi. You know what I started messing with? Lo-fi dubstep. With a little bit of trance.
Some of them are pretty good. Dude, I put them on here on the speakers. I have in the Great Ottawa Chicago global headquarters here. I have speakers all over the ceiling, like an office, and I'll put the lo-fi on and that type of stuff. And after about 20 minutes, Mrs. Striking's in full revolt.
Oh wow, she's like too chill.
Yeah, it's like nope, nope, this is not gonna work. Anyway, Pedro, back to BTC. It's just sitting around. Been reading a lot of stuff this week about BTC and what's going on, and everyone's sitting there saying, "Hey, this is supposed to be the time when it's rocking and rolling," and it's not. However, if everyone goes back and thinks about the halving cycle and when things actually rock and roll after the halving, we're kind of not even there yet. In fact, we're still at least like a month away from just being in the right zone, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when it comes down to that, like you said, it typically starts to really push hard after the election cycle. So if Bitcoin is at the, oh, by the way, if you guys don't mind, please hit that like and share button. That would help so much. And send it to your preferred social media platforms, or as I always say, the ones that you don't necessarily like as well. We'd really appreciate that. It helps us get the name out and things getting it going. But in additionally to that, I say this because there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the markets that were it's just, we hit the all-time high, a new high. So I wonder if that's almost something that's almost telecasting. What's the word? Not telecommunication. Telegraphing. Thank you. Wow. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. Telegraphing potentially what we actually might see in the market, because if we're at all-time new highs and this thing is bumping like it's, like nobody's business, then I would expect to see this thing really start to get going hard even before at the end, and I assume that we would see some rally at the end of or nearing the election cycle. But if this thing does take off, I would expect to see it to drop here, and so because they've got to set up, they've got to fill up their bags first, and I'm talking institutional money. So it's one of those things that I expect. That's why I keep saying, guys, I don't want you guys all in just yet, because we're putting in this lower high here, and you can see, guys, it bounced off of this exactly what we were talking about. I think I went on Zach's show when he went live at the conference, and I talked about us hitting that 20-day period moving average sitting right here, and that was about that same area that we were actually had a zone at, which was that 62 to 61,000 area. So we definitely played off of that, came down, hit the same area that we talked about. Now we're just kind of consolidating here. So with the same sense, I would expect us to see a sell off again, at least this week, down to that 53, 60, 13 area to that 52, 7, 34 area. It's simply because it's just more or less there's buyers sitting there, and if they're going to push it up, they need to drop it down to that area there. So I would expect to see some type of movement when it comes to that.
What are your thoughts? I was trying to look at this last night. I was reading some threads about how Binance drives the markets, because they're the Goliath in the space, and we all know exchanges manipulate the markets just like market makers do. They make plans. They try to drive out. They basically try to take your money. I mean, they're a casino essentially, and they try to, before they know it's going to pump like crazy, they want it to go down in order to clear out, all the longs, stop them out, and clear the books. They call that liquidity and stuff like that, and then move it up. And it was a pretty good post that I was reading about that, and how Binance really tries to drive the market, and thus kind of the other exchanges follow. And when looking at the maps and the charts heat maps and liquidity maps and all that type of stuff. It just looked to me that I was like, man, this thing looks like it's going to be going lower here before, like down, like you said, 53, 50, high 40s again or something like that to really flesh out a whole bunch of, orders and then move back up. You're sharing your screen. Pedro, you're on mute, maybe?
That is what is going on. I am on mute, so that just feels silly now. That's funny. No, so I think what I was saying though is, as I'm looking at the market here and I see the liquidity points, they're at a point where I mean, just like you said perfectly, there's just more buyers and sellers at lower levels. They're not at this level here. So, and this is Ethereum, but I almost want to talk about how Trump is actually making more money on his residual of staking for Ethereum now than pretty much everything else that he's making. So that's interesting to realize that he's making a ton of money off of.
How's he making money on ETH?
I do not know. I read through the article really quick. But basically, he's making a ton of money on ETH, and so it's really interesting to sit there and see that what he's doing. And the reason I bring this up is ETH is starting to see a bit of a sell-off. We're putting in more seller wicks here, as we've been talking about this. So, a lot of times when I start to see, ETH would typically be a predecessor, a predictor of a movement, for crypto or for Bitcoin sometimes, if it decides it wants to move. So for me, I'm sitting there going, is this going to get the market start dropping? And if it does, then it'll be really interesting to see what happens there, right? With Bitcoin, because this here area we should see from 50 or 25.94 down to at least 23.70ish to 21.90ish.
Hey lady, excited for Infinite and blockchain. Welcome to, and thank you for joining the show, C lady. Really appreciate it. Sorry about that, Pedro.
Yeah, dude, always shout out our community, no doubt. We always want to make sure that, we want our community to feel loved.
Well, welcome AI Alpha Wolf. Thanks for joining the show, Walter.
Yeah, always good to have him. He's good. We actually talked over this weekend, so it was really interesting to see what he was talking about. Let me pull up here real quick. And I think this is an interesting chart here. This is basically the top 10 coins out there within crypto right now. This is a chart of them. And you can see they're pretty much following Bitcoin as we speak. They're below all the moving averages. And again, we're seeing that this volume is dropping off again. So it's just the liquidity area of this is down in this lower area. You can see that we had a ton of sell-off. So I would expect us to be coming and testing the 95 or the $950 billion market cap. Again, this is the top 10 coins out there put together per market cap. So right now we're sitting at a 1.6, and I would expect at least see, 1% drop. A 10% drop to find support, potentially around the 953,000, billion. Market cap. So that 10% drop, at least probably even a potential 15% from this level here for the wholeness of crypto. So when I look at what's actually happening here with BTC, right, and this wants to see again, that makes sense to see us go at least 10 to 15% down. And if you look at that, we're talking that's 10,000, right? 10,000 points. And we're talking 58 to be around 48,000 areas. So I think this area here is just a solid area of buyers. And if we don't hold here, if I see it, if we touch the 200 period and just hit it, and then push it back up, all right, I'm happy about that. But if it doesn't, and this is important to understand, then we've got, excuse me, this is not the 200, this is the 400 period moving average. I don't know why I would say 200. It's the 400-day period moving average. This is, and people are like, what's the point of that? When you see the cross of the 400 and 100-day period moving average, it's a sign that that market is slowing down and completely about to get decimated. And so we're kind of starting to see that here, where we have a 100 period moving average sitting in about right here with a yellow line. And right now it's just kind of consolidating because of the market. But if we see a sell-off in Bitcoin at this lower level, you're going to see a kink in this 100-day period moving average, and that's gonna cause a sell-off. So it's something to be paying attention to, be looking for. But overall, I would expect to see at least somewhat of a sell-off, so that we can get more buyers. And it may not want to be what you want to hear, but at least it's something that you can expect to see come in.
Yeah, I'm worried about let me say I'm not worried about it, because I'm to the point now where all price movement is good, up or down. But we want the market to expand. We want the market to grow. We want the market cap to grow. And from your perspective as a day trader, if it goes between 100,000 and 40,000 fairly regularly, hey, all is good. You got volatility, you got movement. But the overall market and the acceptance of this whole crypto thing needs the price to go up. It needs the market cap to get up, into something more than a small pension fund. Right now the whole market cap is a small pension fund. $1 trillion is like, okay, that's like the UAE's sovereign wealth fund. Big but small. And it just needs to go. What do you got up there? You got BBM up there?
Yeah, but I'm actually trying to pull up one of the charts that who was it that Derek wanted us to look at, which is called
Control Token.
Yeah,
he put the contract address there.
Control Token, here we go. Oh man, not bad at all. It looks like it's doing some selling off. And what's the market cap on this? Okay, not bad at all. 3 million market cap, 3.2 million. Is this a meme coin, or is this a token with a project?
AI Wolf, my Cubbies did beat our guests Blue Jays, so it was a good game. And it was right down into the bottom of the 11th inning. They won in extra innings. It was a great game.
Yeah, it's always good when your team wins. They actually did a study on when your team wins, and they actually found out that your testosterone actually jumps.
Oh, it goes through the roof. I mean, it's It's victory. You feel that tribal sensation of success. You want to mate with your partner. You name it.
It's crazy, man. I was shocked when I said, that is so interesting. And that it does that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how you become very, just your body changes. Just simply from your team winning. I don't know. I mean, your thoughts on that? I think that's interesting. I also want you to. I kind of want you to. And you can
hold on a second. I gotta address something. AI Wolf says Pepsi on Netsy is starting to have some good movement again. I don't know what chart you guys are looking at, but I'm looking at my screen changing button here are just taking a long time. Okay, not looking well. Here we go. I'm looking at the NetZ chart, and it looks like I've lost all of my money. People just keep selling it off. Down. Oh, it's brutal. I mean, I don't understand this chart. I don't understand the whole project. They've got so much going on and so much good stuff going on, and it's only got $10,000 liquidity left. I remember at one point my wallet was worth over $30,000 itself. That's only 10 grand left in the whole project.
Well, that's sad. But jumping back onto this control coin here, we're seeing the system here. Was this a fair launch, Derek, or was this a? I'm looking at this one. I'm just trying to see what's actually happening here.
Yes, Jesus should have sold when it pumped. To be honest, they did sell some to move some the meme coin pumps. You sell some, but I should have sold a lot more than bought 10 times as much lower. Control token had a pre-sale. Jesus says.
Okay. Well, so I'm assuming. So let me calculate that here. This is 1, 3, 2. So they've almost had a 10x, or what is that? A 16.
Oh wait, which one you got on there? You got Pepsi on there. I thought we were talking about control token.
Yeah, this is control token.
No, you got. Sorry. My buttons are running about 10 seconds, 15 seconds behind.
Oh, it's alright. Yeah, it's you have about, what is this, 4x? So what is that? Boom, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, 2, 4, 6. So not bad. 6x on this. Not bad, not bad. And dude, it looks like it's growing stronger. I mean, look, you're seeing a lot of buyers come in here, so this is looking fairly good. As a so I'm looking at this here, pushing up. I would expect some type of a sell-off down to this level here. I mean, obviously it's looking like it's catching some legs here, so. But probably around here, where we see support coming in. If it does see a sell-off, I would expect to see it right here.
One of you control token guys, I posted a screenshot of us reviewing control token in the DYOR Media room. Why don't you grab it and go post it in the control token TG. AI Wolf, I got it. Yeah, I'm up for helping Pepsi go here. They, most of our show thumbnails have a little Pepsi guy on it. That'd help them out. No, they do not pay me for that. But their idea that they had is good. They've developed a lot of good stuff. It's not just a pump fund contract and saying go. They've got all sorts of code behind it. They've got all sorts of staking. They got NFTs that are cross-chain NFTs. They got all good stuff. That's all the keywords people want to hear. Yet the money keeps coming out, not going in. Then they keep saying we're gonna have a base or a bridge, and we're gonna blah blah blah. Then they're saying we're gonna expand the base, and everyone moved their tokens over to the base side. And then Ethereum sunk like crazy, and so they lost further value. Troublesome in the house. Thanks for joining us, Troublesome.
It's good to have you. So I almost want to talk about the article that I sent you. Were you able to capture it real quick?
Oroki Saki. Oroki, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Good to have you, brother. How'd you hear about us, if you don't mind me asking?
He's in one of the rooms that I post in. I can't remember which one.
That's nice.
Pedro, before we go into that article, I mean, let's talk about the good stuff that happened this week here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let me bring up the. All right, behind us here, ladies and gentlemen, what do we got? What do we got here? Oh, we got Tom and Pedro here. Pedro in the house.
Everyone, wherever in the world you're coming to us from, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here on DYOR Live. So glad to be hosting another episode here on the DYOR Media Network. But we got something special for you today. First of all, we have Pedro Garcia in.
I don't know if the crowd can hear this.
Well, how you doing, Mr. Tom?
ya.
I am well. Things are really well. It's actually really fun being here at the blockchain Futurist
Crowd,
conference.
can you hear me and Pedro
honestly,
speaking in the
for
video
BitFi
here?
for taking care of all the details, the funding. We appreciate that tremendously. But also, more importantly, man, I'm here face to face, meeting the man right here. So it's actually pretty cool.
It's the first time Pedro and I have met each other. We've worked together for 2 years.
Dos
años.
Dos años.
And we're so glad. But it's
That was
Yeah,
good.
really good. It's a good
So Pedro and I met for the first time. I don't know why this is now stopped. Trying to play it, but screen capture isn't working. Anyway, we'll just restart that.
It's all good. We'll see what's up, what happens there. For those who are watching us over on LinkedIn, if you guys could go through and actually just come over to the YouTube channel, if you want to connect and actually communicate with us. The reason why is LinkedIn they're still working out their software issues when it comes to communication between each other, and it lags quite a bit. So if you guys want to be able to connect with us and talk, best way to do it is just to come over to the YouTube channel. Just type in DYOR Media Network. So, yeah. Dude, I look like a complete weirdo right there.
Look at the face that's stuck. I just paused on my face here. For some reason, the screen capture has died here.
Literally, like I have like one of the most strongest jaws, and that literally makes me look like a jaw, dude. That's hilarious. Dude, that needs to be a meme, man.
I literally have to remove it and re-add it.
Nah, it's not good.
Capture.
Pedro is real. Yep. Yes, I am. The real deal, Pedro Garcia. But it's just it was I think it was great, man. I really enjoyed actually being able just to walk up and talk to people there. It was really interesting, especially being in the primary media outlets for the Futurist conference. It did give us a open way to be able to just come up and talk to people. We were able to talk to Certic, their head guy there, which was really cool. Right, like I thought he was just one of the workers, and I walked in and said, "Hey, would you mind?" And he started messing with me, him and the other guy, and they were like, "Yeah, why not?" I said, I don't know if you have to get permission, but we do have this one. And the guy looks at him and he's like, "You want to go?" He goes, "Yeah, why not?" And then found out that you'd already been communicating with them, and this was like basically the CEO. It was actually pretty cool to hear that he still works as an educator and what he's doing. I mean, I just thought all that was really, really cool. Just to see him in the industry, as well as also educating people for the future of crypto. And I think it's cool. What was your opinion? What were your thoughts
of my thoughts of the whole show, or that the Certic guys, I gotta tell you, I'm trying to find the interview right now here. Was it on day 1 or day 2?
It was day 1. I believe it was day 1.
All right, then it's in here somewhere. It was. Hold on. Here's me with the CEO of Coinbase Canada, otherwise known as the country director. But the Certic guys, it was amazing. The co-founder, I should say, CEO and founder of Certic, his name is Wrong Way. Obviously a Chinese name I can't pronounce properly, but I get it close. And he's not only a super security sleuth, He's also a professor at Columbia. And while he's making hundreds of millions of dollars owning Certic, he said his most important thing he does is teach his students at Columbia. And he doesn't have the class load that he used to. I think he teaches one class per semester now. But he still works with the students in labs. And as he said, there's always new changes, new security threats coming up and all that type of stuff. And so he teaches people. And it was a really cool interview about him. I'm looking here to see if I can find it. This guy, Scott, from Digital Shovel. This guy's just a certified lunatic, but an excellent businessman building containers for mining, Bitcoin miners. Just really interesting. One of the cool things that we did was that we took over the Blockchain Futurist live stream itself. And I had my friend Zach Humphreys here, and he brought Oscar Ramos and Crypto Mark. Crypto Mark is a brand new streamer that is good friends with Zach, and his channel's growing like crazy. Many of you know Oscar because he's the Super Crow influencer and believes all things Chronos in the Crypto.com exchange. And we had some very good discussions on both day 1 and day 2, taking over their live stream. But as you can see, the event behind us was just incredible. I mean, the show was amazing. The spot they had us on, the risers that we were on, had us overlooking the show and all that. It was really a premier spot for our little channel here, and so it was quite, as they say, quite excellent.
Yeah,
and there's lots of good discussions, and I'll be cutting out all those interviews and releasing them individually on the channel, so you don't have to go through a 6-hour live stream in order to hear them. And look, here we got Pedro in the house again.
Yeah. Good old no chin at all.
No chin at all. Soon there'll be a chin back there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've got to lose this weight. I mean, it hurts. So yeah, I've got to just get rid of it somehow.
Oroko says he found us through AI Wolf in the X Shredder clan TG. Still think you guys need to work on that name clan. That's just not a good word here in the States. Even though it's a C and not a K, it's like, I don't know about clan.
Yeah, it was almost like when I forget who was it, but I think is it the Kia or something where they put a car name on the car, and in Spanish it's no go, and like nobody bought it, and nobody realized.
Oh, right.
What's up?
I remember that the name meant no go in Chinese or something like that, or whatever it was.
Spanish, but in Japan it meant something else, and it was funny because nobody bought it in Mexico, and they're like, "What? Why isn't nobody buying this?" And then somebody was like, "Because it means no go in Spanish." And I sat there and I was like, "Somebody got fired off of that."
One of the cool things we did, because the event was in Canada, we had our first kind of French language broadcast. And while we have probably no viewers that are really interested in that, I shouldn't say that. We have a lot of viewers from West Africa, and especially Patrick here, a volunteer that helped us set up and tear down our booth and do things all week. A great guy, Patrick Jimmy. We just called him DJ for a while, then we're like, oh, his name's Patrick. But he did a French language summary of the events for the week. He claims to be starting his own cryptocurrency exchange that's geared towards the Francophone world, French language, the countries in Europe in Africa that speak French, because his reasoning is they need a little different style of business that the regular exchanges are not living up to. It needs to be more customer service focused and that type of stuff. And they have different on-ramp solutions, their needs, and all that type of stuff. So that was very good, and thanks to Patrick for helping us out. Jesus says Novas are sick. Chevy Nova, the no-go.
Oh, that's what it was. Chevy. Yeah, it was no go. Yeah, it was hilarious, dude. Like, and you know, like from a like marketing standpoint, like it's hard to cover every base, man. I mean, there are teams of people who cover like all the bases, and still even. How do you do it? You know, how do you sit there for every language? I mean, but you should have known, you know, what does the name mean in Spanish, right? Like,
right. It's a base.
Yeah. But
well, I gotta say that the Nova did kind of come out before, you know, pretty much, you know, very few, except in small parts of Los Angeles and in Miami. Not a lot of people spoke. It certainly wasn't on anyone's mind.
Yeah.
Jesus says, "Esa mierda nova." No. Yeah, I get your thing. Community, loyalty, affection, nurturing. But every time I say the word clan, all I can think is the movie Blazing Saddles. Here's the interview behind me with the CEO and founder of Certic. And we're going to be going back to Certic for further interviews, to talk stuff, to hopefully launch product news and that type of stuff. I thought I put together a good interview with them, and it went pretty well. So hopefully Pedro and I can parlay that into something more. Really good. Pedro, I don't have a lot of time today. I got a lot of other work to catch up on today. I wanted to do a short show today, so only a little bit of time left for you viewers that want to have us look at something or bring up any topics. But Pedro, I'm gonna go look at the article you sent me.
Yeah, I think it's a real interesting article. It basically stopped the IRS from really kind of having claws in crypto in the U.S. This was a big situation because and we'll read through it real quick, but basically, remember the law that was passed at the beginning of like back in 2022, 23, where basically said that every single person within a project has to go through and make sure that they're going to do business with people in the United States, and they need to push some type of identification, like either Social Security or the ENI, for their business. It needs to be, if they're going to be doing anything more than $10,000. And it was basically revoked by a major court that said, this isn't constitutional. This is not okay. You're overreaching your boundary here. And so it was something that I feel like it's a big deal. Like finding like projects can start to get some headwind and say, look, we need some investors. We need this and that. And now that this law isn't necessarily really enforced, or it's just lost its teeth, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, it says the amendment to the U.S. Code, which is enshrined in the Infrastructure and Investments Job Act, would legally require crypto users exchanging digital assets worth more than $10,000 to collect and share personal information, including their real names, social security numbers, and home addresses, with both each other and the authorities. And we went over this in the show before. So that means if just for example, if Pedro bought a car from me, and a car is a bad example because they got to report, car dealers got to report. Well, forget we're a car dealer, just individual people. He bought $12,000 worth of stuff from me. Came over to my apartment and says, "Hey, you got a lot of cool stuff here. I'm going to buy all this stuff from you for $12,000." And he just sent me crypto for it. I would have to collect Pedro's real name, even if Pedro just wanted to come over here and buy it without a name, his social security number, and his home address, and share it with the U.S. government and file it that I've done a transaction in crypto worth more than $10,000. And it didn't delineate anything. It said any transaction, meaning you're on an exchange, you do $12,000 worth of trading, they got to send that info to the government. all types of stuff. And people went, whoa, wait a minute, this is too much. This is not. And they're like, well, we have to stop terrorism and stuff like that. And we're like, all right, well, if you're going to do that, you have to say everything. We have to report every transaction to the government so the government can track everything. You can't be unfair, equal protection under the law, one versus the other. And the government kind of went, well, no, that's not how it is. We need to stop terrorism. And so this group, the Coin Center, who is totally crypto coin, sued. And the initial courts were like, no, the IRS can do whatever they want. Well, there's been a couple of court cases since then. If you recall what we've talked about before, the Chevron defense, in which government agencies just keep expanding their reach and passing new rules without Congress telling them that it's okay. And this is kind of falling into one of those things where it says, hey, the IRS can make any rule they want, doesn't matter. And now the government is saying, well, or not the government, the courts are going, well, no, that's not true. We're going to let their lawsuit proceed. They didn't set it aside. They just said, we'll let the lawsuit proceed. And so it's entirely possible that we'll get to a point where there'll be a ruling if that's constitutional or not. The Coin Center is saying it's not constitutional to do that. That you just can't require us to share personal information and share with the government, especially since there's other laws saying we don't have to share our social security number for any reason at all.
Absolutely.
And so they're in conflict, and the IRS is just really pushing it. And I think they're going to get slapped down on that. And we're going to see hopefully this case will be the kind of the harbinger that will revert us to the concept that the government does everything in public and people do everything in private, and not the reverse. We shouldn't have to tell the government we bought something for $10,000, or we just traded money. If Pedro, if I said I'm going to send you $11,000 in crypto, just hold on to it for a week and send it back to me so we can test how wallets work. That would be something we'd have to report to the U.S. government
and pay taxes on.
Yeah. If there was a movement in the price during that time, which there probably would be, we'd have to declare that on our tax. It's just not right. It doesn't pass the smell test for anything. So that's an interesting area. We're going to be tracking that. Space Cat in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Space Cat joined us at the show. A viewer and two viewers joined us. One of them you don't know. He just watches and texts me through DMs. But Space Cat showed up, and we've seen Space Cat's picture before because he posts pictures of when he goes on cruises and things like that with Mrs. Space Cat. But Space Cat showed up and said hi and made their rounds and all that type of stuff. It was good to meet you, Space Cat. Thanks for joining us at the show.
It was really interesting to see what was actually happening with and just actually seeing face to face with people. It was really interesting for me. Like, I was like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? And very cordial, very open. Dynamite of a guy. So I was impressed. I was very much impressed with you. Great guy.
AOL's posting about that hack went on, that 4,000 Bitcoins were stolen. Slow Mist has been reporting about that all morning. If you don't follow Slow Mist on X, they're a great crypto security group, and they post about hacks and all that type of stuff.
I do not. How am I not following these people? I'm going to follow them now. So they're called, what are they called? Slow Hack?
Slow Mist.
Slow Mist. Slow Mist team. There we go.
Another. This guy Zach XBT, crypto detective Zach XBT reveals major hack, 238 million worth of Bitcoin stolen. He is this. I would love to have him on this show, but he uncovers all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Reported 4,000 is suspiciously transferred on X about 8 hours ago. Then it's moving to Thorchain, KuCoin, Avalanche. Slow Mist founder suggests that some of the funds may be linked to Genesis Global Trading. Well, that many Bitcoin if you link to anybody.
Yes.
But nobody, I guess they didn't have a... I'm going to guess it was a social engineering hack. And if it was the Lazarus Group, which is the North Koreans, they employ all types of people to do social engineering acts. I was just reading a thread from Zach XBT, who he uncovered 20 to 30 North Korean agents working under multiple identities for many different crypto projects. Basically, if you hire a Korean-speaking dev, unfortunately, there's a good chance that it's actually a North Korean with fake credentials.
Yeah, that's scary. That's actually really scary. Because, like, I've seen, during the last bull run, I would say maybe a quarter of the, just the guys that were being, the monitors were North Korean. Or, excuse me, South Korean. So that's really interesting to see that they potentially could have been North Korean. That's actually absolutely insanity, man.
Yeah, you get that right.
Imagine, especially, and every major project had a South Korean speaking team. Like, like you'd see, like, English, you would see, Middle Eastern, and then you would see English and French and Spanish, and then literally South Korean. And so, like, potential maybe half of those or a quarter of those. That's just scary, dude.
Anyway, behind us here on the screen, we also had a good fireside chat. This is Colia Carrington of the Canadian Blockchain Consortium, who is a rock star at these events in the industry, with Minister of Service Alberta, the Honourable Minister Dale Nally, talking about how the province of Alberta is like, hey, we got low taxes here, lots of energy. Bring your Bitcoin mining, bring your Bitcoin industry, your high performance computing, your AI data centers, all that type of stuff to Alberta, and we'll give you good prices for it, the energy, for the land, anything you need. And businesses are flocking there. Unlike what's going on in the U.S., where the government's saying no, Alberta's saying bring it, baby, bring it. And so, needless to say, the businesses are responding. I had Colia on our live stream the following day, which I'll release later. You know what? Then after that I had the minister on.
I was gonna say you should have the minister on as well.
I did. These long live streams.
Well, I know you got to get going too, so we can always bring up stuff like that. But I just wanted to bring up that article because I think that's an important article to be following and seeing what's happening there. If we could see that law basically, and that will set precedents with, if Trump gets in office, that could be a big deal because then that could be used as a parlay to be able to kind of reset the overreach of the IRS, I feel, with a lot of the stuff that's happened underneath Biden's administration. So it's potential.
Yeah. Biden's coming to town today to give his goodbye speech. Bye-bye, Sleepy Joe. Bye.
I'd still like to call him president. I really do. I made this.
It's true. I'm usually quite formal about that too, but
yeah.
They're basically sending him off. They're only letting him speak on the first day, and he's not even going to be at the convention the rest of the time.
Oh, that's sad. Really? Wow, that's actually really sad because it's like, I wonder if it's one because he might be so far gone, or it potentially could be that he is he has, they're just like, look, it's bad, you've done a bad job here, and we can't let you speak. It just looks bad. And he just might be like, okay, cool, So I don't know if you're into Joe Rogan at all. Do you watch Joe Rogan?
Hey, it's one that occasionally I do, but then when he goes conspiracy theory, I'm just like, oh, I gotta stop. I mean, he gets good guests in that, but he just goes a little off the edge for me.
I mean, he definitely does at times. And this is one of those times he was sitting there going back and forth with pictures of Joe or the president, and he was sitting there and going like, this guy is, a foot taller. He was talking about how there's body doubles and all this stuff, and I was sitting there and I was like, is there? Like, he almost had me believing. I was sitting there going like, holy moly. And sure enough, I mean, you see him walking with his wife, with Flotus, and as I was watching the two, and then he pivot back to another video of him standing next to his wife, and I'm like, dude, I think there is two Joes. I think there are two. They're like body doubles. Like it was real. And like, but I don't know. We'll see what happens though. But it's gonna be real interesting to see as Vice President Kamala steps into this role and then starts to push forward, especially with her vice president. He's another one that it's like he's a wild card. You don't know, we know his stance on a lot of things are very woke, but then in the same sense there are other things I'm like I could kind of sway there. But so it's just a really interesting situation with that whole entire dynamic between President Biden and then Vice President stepped in, and we didn't vote for it, right? We didn't, I guess we did vote for it, but we didn't vote for the switcher, and everybody knew, he didn't really have.
Jesus getting to the point here. Jesus, screw her.
It's interesting. We'll see what happens. It's really, the other part that's really interesting to see is the African American community not really coming behind her. Like her, that to me was kind of like them just outright saying. There's a lot of them out there.
They will. They vote on race lines here in Chicago. They just literally the candidates say, "I'm just going to steal everything and shoot people." But if it's the only African American candidate, they all vote for him and they win. It's really terrible that it's so a long race. I mean, that's the problem. The African Americans do that heavily. Obviously, Caucasians do it too, and Latinos, Hispanics do it also, but not nearly as much by the fact that we elected a black president, and we elect other African Americans to office when they're a minority. So it's just sucks. In certain instances, like in Chicago for our prosecutor and our remember in Chicago we elected not only one but two progressive liberal African American females that were tough on crime prosecutors, and they're both absolutely the worst possible thing you do to lead a government or to lead the prosecutor's office. It was just awful. It's awful. The city's a dumpster fire, and Jesus can attest to the fact that it happened in Chicago or in San Francisco, it happened in New York. Sorry, I guess I'm coming out here. Anyway, I could go on for that forever. This is Pedro and I wrapping up day one behind us. We had a great time, and we hope to parlay this into bigger things. Anyway, Pedro, I do have to get going now.
Yeah.
AI Wolf, I don't think that I could join your space later because of what I have to do later. The time isn't just going to work out for me. Maybe Pedro can for a little bit. Make sure Pedro and I get the links to that. For some reason, we don't see all your links to your space. But anyway, if I can always give it a shot if I'm free, or just at least trying to multitask, and maybe Pedro can too. But I know he's busy also today. But we'll give it a shot. It's always good to support each other in all of this.
I actually was going to give him a call back yesterday because we were talking, and then things just got crazy for me, and I wasn't able to get back to him. And so, my bad, but I apologize for not calling you back. It just kind of got crazy for me. But I did want to finish our conversation in regards to certain people. Yeah. Well, all right, man. Well, if you got to go, you got to go. Hey, it was a pleasure hanging out with you again, as always. I actually look forward to other times where we get to be doing the same thing, talking to people and interviewing and bringing them on the show. Oh, tomorrow we let's finish it up. We're gonna be having a guest from Canary Cry, Gone. He's a pretty cool guy. He's really into meme coins, so I want him to come and kind of talk about the meme coins he's looking at and what he's been checking out. So that'll be interesting. And that's about it. What about you, Tom?
I think we've got a DeFi Dojo segment coming up here soon, maybe Thursday too. Good group coming on.
That will be good. That will be good. All right, my friend. You gotta go.
Yeah, that's all we got for you today. Let's see. I don't have my outro music. Do I have my outro?
Is it the outro?
No, file not found. I didn't reload it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, as always, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to have hosted another episode of DYOR Live. Thanks to Pedro Garcia. And Derek Breland says 5. Oh, look at that at the last minute.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much.
Super chat. We'll go with it on the outro. Thanks a lot, Derek. We really appreciate it. We'll hit you up with the holla tomorrow on that. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow. See you there.